Hello, it's Crafty Carol here with another little video for you, and I wanted to use a new set that I haven't played with yet, although it was out last year. It comes with a matching punch. The set is the Bottled Happiness and the punch is the Vintage Bottle Punch, and it cuts out this particular bottle. It is actually fairly easy to cut out the other bottle, to be honest, because it's not a difficult shape to fussy cut. But I haven't really used the flowers that go with it, the 2-layered flower stamp. But I wanted to do this one because I want to show you how you should line up the leaves with the flowers and the edge, the sort of highlighting of the bottle. And I've done it on this one in a very dark colour compared to the main. I'm going to use a lighter one in what I'm going to show you now, because I just wanted to show you how it fits with the bottle. It's just a sort of a little bit of emphasis to make the bottle look more 3D. So let me show you how I made the card. It's a fairly simple card. I've used, oh, don't forget to stamp your envelope, never forget that. Let me put that to one side and I'll show you what bits I've used for it. Here we go. So I've got a normal card base, which is 21 by 14.8, scored at 10.5. And we're going to start off by folding that together and giving it a good score. So fold it, making sure the edges line up, and then down the score line. If I can find my bone folder, which has also vanished. It's amazing how things vanish on this desk, I tell you. And there we go. There's my card base ready. We're going to do it as an ordinary portrait card, really simple card. So I've got my 2 layers, and I'm using a Parakeet Party because I haven't used that much, and I decided I really needed to use this particular colour a bit more. So that is my layer, and that is 10 by 14.3. And then I have a layer of basic white as well, and this is 9.5 by 13.8. So those are my 3 layers. And having made that first card, I'll show you again. I'm going to do something a little bit different with it. I don't know if you can see the shine, I've used for the centre of the flowers and the bottle. I've actually used the Wink of Stella, but I just feel it looks a little plain. And I played around, should I put some sequins on it? And then I thought, no, I don't want to, but I have got another idea and I'll show you as I make it this time. And then we can decide which we think is better. So that is my base. So I'm just going to stick my layer on. I think sometimes we're a little bit scared of these sets that line up stamps, I have to say. So there's my base made. So I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to start by stamping on the flowers and the leaves. I'm going to put the leaves on first because I'm going to stamp them in Parakeet Party. So I'm going to ink up my stamp. So I'm going to show you how to line up without you still need to do this sort of fiddly thing, even if you've got a stamparatus, but it's easy enough to do it without. So we want those leaves somewhere near the top because we've got to have room for our bottle further down. So somewhere in the top sort of third-ish, top half of the card, I'm going to stamp those leaves. So then I'm going to get my flower stamp, and I'm not going to just put it straight on the block, because this is what I wanted to show you with trying to line it up, because these images here are the centre of the stamp. Let me just get rid of that ink pad as well. We don't need that one anymore. We will need this one. There we go. Got loads of ink pads here because I'm using so many. So we're going to use Tahitian Tide for the flowers. And rather than just put it on the block and try and line it up, I'm actually going to line it up on my already stamped piece. So we want the raised bit of the stamp, the bit that actually takes the ink, pointing down, because that's how it will come. And I can then line this up, making sure that my flower centres are properly lined up. And there, that's not too bad. Just move that one over a bit, because the beauty is I can just move these things over a little bit and fiddle with them a little bit to make sure they are lined up where I want them to. And you'll see this one, I didn't quite line it up properly at the edge here. These little stems here, the blue should be over those stems, and it wasn't quite. So I'm hoping this is lined up better. And when I've got it lined up on my paper, I can then pick it up on my block by pressing down and lifting away with the block. So now it is lined up. We know that if I get the inking right and place it right, it is going to line up properly. So I may get in the way slightly here because I will have to lean over, because I look through the stamp, the beauty of clear stamps, to make sure that it is lined up with everything, and then I can place it down and stamp. There, quite pleased with that one. There we go. So hopefully you can see my ink pads are very juicy. It'll dry a bit better, but can you see how I've got the centres just about in the centre? I've got my little ones here just lined up nicely. I've got my heads on top of these stems all right. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. So you get the idea. So really easy to line up like that. Now, the thing that I decided I would do, and I need to do it at this stage, not when I've done the rest of the card, is I'm going to run it through an embossing folder. And it doesn't really matter which embossing folder, not one that's got a big pattern. I'm going to use Timeless Textures, and I'm just going to run it through because I think it'll actually make the card look a bit better. So I shall be back in a second. Okay, so here I am back, and it wasn't Timeless Textures. I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. The Time Worn type I've used, and I don't know, we'll see. We'll compare the two and see which ones you decide are best. But I quite like that little bit of subtleness in the background, although I am losing some of the flowers a bit. Difficult to know which is best. Anyway, we've done it now, so put that to one side while we deal with the bottle. So I need my scrap bit of card. Where's it gone? There we go. So first of all, I'm going to stamp my bottle in Tahitian Tide. I did stamp the bottle in a darker colour. I actually used Orchid Oasis with Starry Sky. I don't know, it just wasn't quite right. I'll show you in a minute. So we'll make sure that's properly inked up. There we go. Then I can stamp my bottle. There we go. And again, the sort of, my ink pad's a little bit soapy for some reason, these ones. Not very happy with them, but it will dry as a better colour in a minute. So that's the solid bottle. And then we do exactly the same thing when we're using the outline stamp for the bottle. And you can see it's a really wobbly stamp, so it could go anywhere. So I like to line it up by placing it exactly where I want it to go. And again, I can look through it to check that it is lined up properly to the edge of the bottle. So we're checking that the lines are all lined up where they should be. There we go. And then I can pick it up on my block and I know it's going to be in the right place. And I'm going to try Orchid Oasis. I'm playing around my colours here because I can't decide which I like best. But I think we're going to go for the slightly less dark Orchid Oasis here. So again, make sure, got it all over the block. That's not good, because that means I'll get it over my fingers, which is not good. Anyway, let's now lean over and I can line that up again with my edges. Make sure that's right. Yeah. And then place down, and I've inked my bottle. There we go. So it actually looks very similar to the first one. I don't think changing the ink made a lot of difference there, but you can get the idea of the bottle. So just that little stamp, it's not necessary, you don't have to do that, but it does give the bottle a little bit more apparent depth, which I think is a good thing. So now we can punch that out using the punch. So I just slide it in, line it up, try and make sure I get it just right. It's pouring with rain outside. I think that's what's making Gus so antsy today. Why can't I line this thing up? There we go. That's better. There. Probably because I'm using a little scrap of card, which was slightly more difficult to put in. So there's my bottle. And then it's a matter of putting the rest of the card together. So I'll bring my base back and I'm going to stick this on, and then we can decide. I think probably this one is a little bit too much. I'm going to try again with a slightly less textured one, possibly one of the new ones that's just come out, the three that you get, the basics embossing folder. There's a nice Hessian one on that might look good. We'll see, or perhaps I'll go back to leaving it plain. I don't know. There we go. So there's my flower, and then I'm going to put my bottle on, and I just curl the bottle by lying it over my finger and just gently easing it into a curved shape over my finger. And then I can put a couple of dimensionals down the back. So one just there and one just here. and then stick it on. Important not to put a dimensional at the neck, and I'll show you why in a minute. Although, I mean, you can, but you won't be able to make this card. So if I press that down now, you can see the sides of the bottle are now touching the card. The centre is raised on the dimension. So just curling that bottle really, really helps. So to do the greeting on it, I've decided to make it a thank you card. So you just need a couple of strips of a coloured card. I've just matched with my Tahitian Tide, and a strip of white card. And they need to be 3/4 of an inch wide, because I'm going to use this punch, the Happy Labels punch, because I like the curly end to it. So I'm going to slide that in and just punch the white piece and then punch the coloured piece. That's given me my ends. Then I want to have a little hole in the end, so I don't want to get the sentiment too close to there, but I don't want it too far down either. I discovered I'd put it too far down before. So I'll use what I used before, which is Starry Sky. You could use Orchid Oasis or whatever. You could actually use Memento if you wanted. So I'll just ink that up and we'll have the sentiment about there. There we go. That's just a little thank you. And the sentiment, by the way, it's from my favourite Go to Greetings stamp set. There's several ones that would do for this card. The hello, just a note, or thank you. One of those is perfect for this card. I'm going to stick with my thank you one. So then all I'm going to do is cut these off and poster. No, the rain's getting really heavy now. And put a little hole through. So I'm going to cut the blue just slightly longer than the white, and my simple way to do it is I've overlapped the end. Can you just see that? So then when I cut it and push that back, my blue is actually going to just about overlap my white. There we go. So I'm going to put a hole through it using my crocodile. So we are memory keepers on this one. So I'm going to line up the ends again properly, and then I don't need that big hole, I can have a smaller hole here. Punch a hole near the end. In the middle, you could measure that if you wanted and get it absolutely right, but I was just doing it by luck and guesswork. There we go. And then to make the bow, I think I'll show you on this one here. I've actually used some of the silver from the Elegant Trim set, which has both gold and silver trim in it, and it's lovely. So you want approximately 8 or 9 inches of this. And I'll show you how I tied it round, because I've got a little secret for that one as well. So get yourself a decent length of it, perhaps 12 inches, I don't know what that is. What is that? Let me measure it. I can tell you in centimetres on my board, so it's about 36 centimetres, 37 centimetres. So I'm going to fold it in half and then put the end through the 2 bits of my sentiment, like this. Just squeeze it so that it'll push through. Line up my holes, push that loop through, and then pass my ends through my hole. There we are. I haven't got those very even, but I don't think that matters too much. So there is my sentiment attached. Now my little trick for it, as you can see, I've got this so that it moves because it's not stuck down, but the thank you is actually attached to the back. So I just move them very slightly and use a little glue dot. I'm using some that I've got left over from one of the kits actually, that because the kits, if they come with glue dots, they always come with so many, there's plenty left over, and they're really nice flat ones. So I'm just, let me move that so you can actually see. I'm just putting a glue dot on the blue on my Tahitian Tide piece. Take the top off, decide what overlap I want, something like that, press it down, and then it's going to stay with that overlap. It's not going to wave around. It will, the whole thing will wave around, but the white won't move on the blue. Hope that makes some sense. So how did I tie it around here? Because I actually did tie it. I will show you. So you're going to pass one piece from the front round the back, and the other piece round the back to the front, and that, just get it roughly where I want it to be, something like that. That's how I've done that. And then I'm going to use more dots sitting in front of me, can't even see them. And I'm going to put a little glue dot on the neck there. Take that off. Because when I do the first tie, which is just my ordinary knot, I want it to stick down on there. Can't pick it up, there we go. So this is where I can adjust this and have that as long as I want. I think we'll have it approximately there. So then I can press my knot down and that gives me something solid, and then I can tie my bow on top. And I just used a second, if I can tie a bow, which I can't obviously because I'm on a video. Might never tie bows on videos. There we go, got it now. So quite big at the moment, that's all right, I can adjust it. So pull those down, I think that's about right. So I'm going to use another glue dot just under the knot there to hold that down. There we go. There we go, little glue dot cover. So there, I've got my bow. Whoops, that has slipped. Let me try again. Push it down into my glue dot. That one's twisted, annoyingly. I'll fiddle with it later. I'm doing too much fiddling for this video, really. But you can get the idea. Have a fiddle yourself. Let's leave it twisted. It obviously wants to. There we go. And then I can just trim off these ends to be a little bit shorter because I don't need them that long. There we go. And there is my card. So, which do you think? Do you think it's better with the embossing or without? It's gone really dark here, so I hope the quality of the video isn't too bad. Hopefully I can edit it to make it a bit lighter if it is. But I can't actually decide. I think actually the plain one might be better. I might play and see, try and decide. And then to finish off the card, all I did was use my Wink of Stella. And I just used that. And then I'm going to just put some in the centre of the flowers. Just do this really quick. Oh, it wasn't a flower. Just got a dot somewhere there. And then I actually just covered the bottle. Just to make it sparkle a little bit. There we go. And you probably can't see that too much because really it's very dark here now. I think we're about to get a thunderstorm. Anyway, there is my card. I hope you like it. Really can't decide whether the embossing helps or not. I might try a slightly less detailed embossing folder and see if that works. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that card. I hope you have a play with the set because it is such a nice set. It's got so many lovely sentiments as well. I'll see you again next week. If you'd like to know more about the card and get all the measurements again, if you didn't have time to write them all down, then please go to my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk and you will find all the measurements there with instructions. And I will see you again soon. Please, while you're there, sign up to my emails and then you will get all the details of what I'm doing and when I'm doing them. And you can get the chance to come and join me live for some crafting as well. So, hope to see you soon. Thanks for being with me today. Bye for now.